The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days when Maya drove back to Hollow Creek, and the town looked like it was trying to drown itself in gray. She turned onto Sycamore Lane just after dusk, and the streetlights buzzed with dying bulbs, casting shadows that moved like something breathing. The house stood at the end of the road, white paint peeling like old skin. Windows dark except for one on the second floor where a candle flickered behind lace curtains that hadn't been washed in 20 years. Maya cut the engine and sat in the car, hands still gripping the steering wheel. The wipers had stopped mid-arc, leaving a smear of water across the windshield that distorted the house into something almost unrecognizable. Almost. But she knew every board, every crack in the foundation, every stain on the porch where her father used to sit in the evenings, saying nothing, just watching the street as if waiting for someone who would never come. She hadn't been back in 8 years, not since the funeral. Not since they'd lowered her mother into the ground on a morning so cold the earth itself seemed to refuse the burial. The dirt, frozen solid. The diggers, cursing under their breath, while the priest mumbled words that dissolved into the wind before they could reach heaven. The letter had arrived 2 weeks ago, forwarded 3 times before it found her in the city. The handwriting was her sister Lily's, still childish despite her 31 years, loops too wide and letters leaning like they might fall off the page. It said only, "Come home. It's getting worse. We need you." No signature, no explanation, just those words. And beneath them, a small drawing of a mouth with a finger pressed against the lips. Maya got out of the car. The rain immediately soaked through her jacket, cold and insistent. She grabbed her bag from the trunk and walked up the path, dead leaves sticking to her shoes, the sound of her footsteps swallowed by the wet earth. The porch steps creaked in the same places they always had, third one from the bottom, then the 7th. Memory lived in wood and nails. The front door was unlocked. It always had been. Her father used to say that locks were for people who had something worth stealing, and what did they have? Just a house full of silence and the ghosts of conversations that had died before they could be born. Inside, the air smelled of old candles and something else, something organic and faintly sweet, like flowers left too long in water. The hallway stretched before her, longer than she remembered, the floral wallpaper her mother had chosen decades ago, now faded to the color of old bones. Family photographs lined the walls, but they hung crooked, as if someone had bumped them and never bothered to straighten them. In each frame, her family stared out. Her father, tall and gaunt with eyes that never quite focused on the camera. Her mother, small and pale, mouth pressed into a line so thin it barely existed. Lily, round-faced and anxious even as a child. And Maya herself, dark-haired and serious, always standing slightly apart from the others. In every photograph, no one was smiling. "Hello?" Maya called out, but her voice came out too loud in the stillness, violent almost, and she immediately regretted it. She cleared her throat and tried again, softer this time. "Lily, it's me." No response? But somewhere above, she heard the soft shuffle of feet across old floorboards. She climbed the stairs slowly, her hand trailing along the banister. The wood felt sticky, though she couldn't see anything on it. On the landing, she paused. The candle she'd seen from outside was burning in her old bedroom, the door slightly ajar. But to the left, her parents' bedroom door stood open, and she could see the edge of the bed, the quilts piled high, and beneath them, the shape of someone lying very still. Maya moved toward the bedroom. Lily. The shape didn't move. Maya stepped inside, her heart suddenly loud in her ears. The room smelled stronger here, that sweet decay smell, and beneath it something else, something medicinal and sharp. The windows were covered with heavy curtains, and the only light came from a small lamp on the nightstand, its bulb dim and orange like the last ember of a dying fire. The person in the bed was her father. He looked smaller than she remembered, his face sunken, skin the color of newspaper left in the sun. His eyes were closed, and for a terrible moment she thought he was dead. But then his chest rose, just barely, and fell again. On the nightstand beside him sat a row of pill bottles, a glass of water with a film on its surface, and a notebook with a pen laid across it. Maya approached the bed. "Dad?" His eyes opened, just slits at first, then wider. They found her face, and something flickered in them. Recognition, maybe, or fear. His mouth opened, and she leaned closer to hear what he would say. But nothing came out except a breath, soft as moth wings. "Dad, it's Maya. I came home." She reached for his hand. It was cold, dry as paper. "Where's Lily?" His lips moved again, shaping words, but no sound emerged. She watched his mouth form the syllables. "She's here." Then, so quiet she almost missed it, barely more than an exhale. "Don't wake her." Maya's skin prickled. "Don't wake who?" But her father's eyes had already closed again, and his hand went limp in hers. Behind her, a floorboard creaked. Maya spun around. Lily stood in the doorway, and for a moment, Maya didn't recognize her. Her sister had always been soft, round-faced and gentle, with their mother's light hair and tendency to cry at small kindnesses. But the woman in the doorway was thin, gaunt almost, her hair hanging lank around a face that seemed to have forgotten how to express anything at all. She wore a long, white nightgown that might have been their mother's, and her feet were bare despite the cold. "Maya," Lily whispered, and even that single word was almost too quiet to hear. "You came." "Of course I came." "Lily, what's going on?" "You said it was getting worse." "What's getting worse?" Lily glanced at their father, then back at Maya. She raised one finger to her lips. "Not here," she breathed. "Come." She turned and walked back into the hallway, moving like a ghost, soundless and pale. Maya followed, casting one last look at their father, who lay still as death beneath his quilts. Lily led her down the hall to what had been their mother's sewing room. She opened the door and slipped inside, and Maya followed. The room was exactly as it had been when their mother died. The old Singer's sewing machine in the corner, covered with a cloth. Shelves lined with thread and fabric. A mannequin in the corner wearing a half-finished dress that would never be completed. The window looked out onto the backyard, where the garden had long since gone to seed, and beyond that, the woods that marked the edge of town. Lily closed the door and leaned against it. For a long moment, she just looked at Maya, her eyes searching, as if trying to remember who this person was. "You look good," Lily finally whispered. "The city treats you well." "Lily, what's happening here? Why did you ask me to come home?" "Because I can't do it alone anymore." Lily's voice was so soft, Maya had to strain to hear it. "I've been trying, but it's too much. Taking care of him, keeping the house quiet, making sure no one wakes her. It's too much for one person." "Wakes who?" "Lily, you're not making sense." Lily moved to the window and looked out at the darkening yard. "When did you last visit?" "Before the funeral, I mean." "I don't know. 5 years before that? Maybe more." 7 years, Lily said. "I remember because it was Mom's birthday, and you only stayed 2 hours. You were on your phone the whole time." Maya felt a flush of shame. "I had work. I told you I couldn't stay long." "You had an excuse. You always had an excuse." Lily's voice held no accusation, just tired fact. "But I understand. I wanted to leave too. We all did. But someone had to stay. I sent money. I called every month." "I know." Lily turned from the window. "I'm not angry, Maya. I'm just tired. So tired." She sank into their mother's old chair, the one she'd sat in to sew. And for a moment, Lily looked exactly like her. Same posture, same defeated slope to the shoulders. "Do you remember how we used to talk in this house?" Maya frowned. "What do you mean?" "How we talked. The volume. Do you remember?" Maya thought back, rifling through memories that felt dusty and distant. Family dinners, evenings in the living room, conversations on the porch. And slowly she realized what Lily meant. They had always spoken quietly in this house. Not whispers exactly, but close, soft voices, carefully modulated tones. She thought it was just the way her family was, reserved and private. "We were always quiet," Maya said. "No," Lily shook her head. "We learned to be quiet. It happened gradually, over years. At first it was just Mom asking us to keep our voices down because Dad had a headache, or was trying to sleep, or was having a bad day. Then it was because the neighbors might hear. Then it was because the walls were thin and sound carried. 100 little reasons, each one reasonable on its own. But they added up, Maya. They became a rule. And then the rule became something else. Lily, I don't understand what you're talking about. When was the last time you heard anyone in this family laugh? Really laugh out loud, the way normal people do?" The question hung in the air between them. Maya tried to remember. Birthday parties? Holidays? Any moment of joy that had been expressed above a murmur? She came up empty. "We whisper," Lily said. "We've always whispered. And now," she paused, her hands knotting together in her lap. "Now we have to." "Why?" "Because if we don't, she'll wake up." Maya felt cold. "Lily, who are you talking about?" Her sister stood and moved to the door. She opened it slightly and peered out into the hallway, checking both directions. Then she closed it again and came close to Maya. So close Maya could smell her breath, sour and stale. When Lily spoke, it was directly into her ear, a whisper so faint it was almost just mouthed words. "Grandmother," Maya pulled back. "Grandmother's dead. She died when I was 9. I know when she died." Lily's eyes were wide, the whites visible all around the iris. "I was there. I helped Mom prepare her for the viewing. We dressed her in that blue dress she always wore to church, the one with the pearl buttons. We combed her hair and folded her hands across her chest. And I stood beside her casket at the funeral and watched them lower it into the ground, right next to where Grandfather was buried." "Then what are you talking about?" "Come with me," Lily breathed. "But be quiet. Please, Maya. Be very, very quiet." She opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Maya followed, her heart beating hard now, her mouth dry. They moved past their father's room, down to the end of the hall where a narrow door stood, one Maya had always assumed led to a closet or storage space. Lily stopped in front of it and looked at Maya, her expression pleading. "Don't speak," she mouthed. "Don't make any noise." She turned the handle slowly, carefully, as if any sudden movement might trigger something catastrophic. The door opened on hinges that had been recently oiled, silent and smooth. Beyond it, a set of steep stairs led up into darkness. The attic. Maya had been up there once as a child, maybe twice. It had been full of boxes and old furniture, dust motes floating in the afternoon light that came through a small round window. She remembered finding an old cradle, a rocking horse with a broken leg, stacks of yellowed photographs. Nothing frightening, just the accumulated debris of generations. Lily began to climb, testing each step before putting her full weight on it. Maya followed. The air grew stuffier as they ascended, thick with heat and that same sweet decay smell she'd noticed downstairs, but stronger now, almost overpowering. At the top, Lily pulled a string, and a single bare bulb flickered to life, casting harsh shadows across the space. The attic had been transformed. What had once been a repository for forgotten things was now a makeshift bedroom. A bed stood against the far wall, narrow and old-fashioned, its metal frame painted white. The mattress was made up with clean white sheets, tucked in with hospital corners. A nightstand held a water glass, a Bible, and a rosary. On the wall above the bed hung a crucifix, large and dark, Christ's face contorted in agony. And in the bed, beneath the white sheets, something lay sleeping. Maya could see the shape of it, slight and still. A person, small, like a child, or a very old woman who had shrunk with age. The sheets rose and fell with breath, slow and steady, the rhythm of deep sleep or something close to it. Lily took Maya's hand and squeezed it hard, nails digging into skin. They stood there, frozen, staring at the sleeping figure. Minutes passed. Maya's legs began to ache, but she didn't dare move. The room was silent except for that breathing, in and out, a sound that seemed to fill the entire space, to pulse against the walls like a heartbeat. Then, from beneath the sheets, came a voice. "Who's there?" It wasn't a question. It was an accusation, rasped out in a tone that was somehow both ancient and childlike, querulous and commanding. The figure didn't move, didn't shift or sit up. The breathing continued, unchanged, but the voice came again. "I can hear you. I can always hear you." Breathing so loud, standing there like you have a right. Like this is your house. But it's my house. It was always my house. Lily's hand was shaking in Maya's. She pulled Maya back toward the stairs, moving slowly, carefully. But Maya couldn't look away from the bed. The sheets hadn't moved. The figure remained perfectly still, that slow breathing continuing, undisturbed. "You think you can leave," the voice said. And now it sounded closer, though the shape in the bed hadn't shifted at all. "You think you can run away and forget, but you can't. Blood calls to blood. This house holds on to what's hers." They reached the stairs. Lily went down first, and Maya followed, still facing backward, watching the attic. The figure in the bed remained motionless, but the voice followed them down. "She came back. The one who left. I knew she would. They always come back. They always come home." Lily pulled the door shut, and they stood in the hallway, both breathing hard. Lily was crying silently, tears running down her face without sound. Maya felt numb, her mind struggling to process what she'd just seen, just heard. "That's not possible," Maya whispered. "I know. Grandmother is dead. We buried her." "I know. So what is that?" Lily wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I don't know. But she's been up there for 3 months now. She appeared in Dad's room one night, sitting in the chair by the window. He was terrified. He started screaming, and that's when his voice gave out. He damaged his vocal cords screaming, the doctor said. But I think it was something else. I think he screamed himself hoarse because he had to, because she wouldn't stop talking, wouldn't stop saying terrible things. And when he finally went quiet, she said, "Good, that's better. That's how it should be. Quiet, like a proper house, like a proper family. Why didn't you call the police? Get help? And tell them what? That my dead grandmother is sleeping in our attic?" Lily's voice rose slightly, then immediately dropped back to a whisper, her eyes darting toward the attic door. "They'd think I was crazy. They'd take Dad away, put him in a home, maybe take me too. And she'd still be here, in this house, waiting. This can't be real. There has to be an explanation. I've thought of every explanation, Maya. Mental illness, grief, hallucination, shared delusion. But then how do you explain that?" She pointed at the attic door. "I feed her. She eats. I've taken her meals up there every day for 3 months. The food disappears. The water glass empties. She asks for things, specific things. Tapioca pudding, the kind Mom used to make. Certain prayers from her old prayer book. Songs from when she was young. How could my hallucination know songs I've never heard?" Maya felt dizzy. She leaned against the wall, the floral wallpaper cool against her palm. What does she want? I think she wants what she always wanted when she was alive. Control, order, a quiet house with quiet children who know their place. She used to live with us, you know, before you were born, for years. She lived here and ran this house like a sergeant, and Mom and Dad just let her. They were afraid of her, even then, especially Mom. Grandmother blamed her for everything wrong in Dad's life, said she'd trapped him with pregnancy, ruined his chances. Every day, some new criticism, some new rule, and Mom just took it, made herself smaller and smaller, until she was barely there at all. Why didn't they make her leave? I asked Mom that once. She said grandmother had nowhere else to go, and it wouldn't be Christian to turn her out. But I think the truth was simpler. They were afraid. Afraid of her disapproval, afraid of her anger, afraid of being bad children. So they let her stay until she got sick and went into the nursing home. And even after she died, even after we buried her, she was still here. In the way Mom walked on tiptoe through her own house. In the way Dad never raised his voice. In all of us, this learned quietness, this fear of being too loud, too much, too alive. Maya thought of her own apartment in the city, small and bright, full of noise from the street below. She'd never understood why she loved it until now. It was the opposite of this place. It was permission to exist at full volume. We have to do something, Maya said. We can't just keep living like this, tiptoeing around a dead woman in the attic. What do you suggest? An exorcism? Should I call a priest? Father Morrison retired 3 years ago, and the new priest is 26 and looks terrified every time someone mentions death. He'd probably faint if I told him what was up there. Then we leave. We pack up Dad, we get in the car, and we leave. Let her have the house if she wants it so badly. We can't. Lily's voice was flat, certain. Dad's too sick to move. The doctors said hospice is the only option now. Weeks, maybe days. We can't put him through a move. And besides, she looked back at the attic door. I tried to leave once about a month ago. Got as far as the highway, but I heard her voice in my head the whole time, getting louder and louder. Come back. You can't leave. This is your home. Your place is here. By the time I reached the county line, I was crying so hard I had to pull over. A sheriff's deputy found me and drove me back. He thought I was having a breakdown. She laughed, a sound like paper tearing. Maybe I was. They stood in the hallway, the house settling around them with small creaks and sighs. Downstairs, the old clock in the living room chimed 9 times, each note soft and mournful. What do? Maya finally asked. We keep her comfortable. We keep the house quiet. And we wait. Wait for what? For Dad to die. For her to leave. For something to change. Lily turned toward her own bedroom. There's food in the kitchen if you're hungry. Your old room is made up. I'll bring her dinner at 10. She paused at her door. I'm glad you're here, Maya. Even if it's terrible. Even if you'll probably leave again as soon as you can. At least for tonight. I'm not alone. She disappeared into her room, closing the door with barely a sound. Maya stood alone in the hallway, listening to the house breathe around her. After a moment, she went downstairs. The kitchen looked frozen in time. Same yellow curtains, same Formica table, same appliances from the 70s. The refrigerator hummed its monotonous song. Inside, she found covered dishes that Lily must have prepared. Casseroles, soups, things that could be reheated. Maya took out a container of what looked like chicken soup and put it in the microwave, watching it spin behind the glass. While she waited, she looked around the room. Her mother's recipe cards still sat in their wooden box on the counter. Her father's reading glasses lay beside yesterday's newspaper, folded to the obituaries. On the wall, a calendar from a local insurance company showed October 2025, but no dates were marked. Nothing to look forward to, nothing to remember. The microwave beeped and Maya jumped at the sound, loud as a gunshot in the quiet. She took out the soup and sat at the table, but found she couldn't eat. Her stomach churned. The sweet decay smell seemed to have followed her down here. Or maybe it was everywhere in the house. Soaked into the walls, the floors, the very air. She thought about what Lily had said, about the gradual quieting of their family, the way they'd learned to make themselves small and silent. She tried to remember moments of loudness, of joy, of normal family noise. A time when her father had laughed at a joke, a time when her mother had sung while cooking, a time when she and Lily had played together, making the kind of racket all children make. But the memories felt distant and uncertain, like something she'd seen in a movie rather than lived herself. Had they always been this way? Had grandmother's influence reached back through time, poisoning even the moments before her death? Maya pulled out her phone. She had signal, though it was weak. She could call someone, tell them what was happening. But who? The police would think she was crazy. Her friends in the city would listen with concerned voices and then suggest she find a good therapist for the family. And maybe they'd be right. Maybe this was all delusion, grief turned toxic, the kind of family madness that came from isolation and too much sorrow. But she'd seen the thing in the attic. She'd heard it speak. She opened her photos, scrolling back through the recent ones. Pictures of her life in the city, coffee shops, friends, her small apartment, the view from her office window. Evidence of a world that existed beyond this house, beyond this town, beyond the suffocating presence upstairs. But looking at them now felt like looking at someone else's life, a story she'd read about but never actually lived. A sound from above made her look up. Footsteps, soft but distinct, crossing the floor directly overhead. The attic was above the kitchen. Maya stared at the ceiling, watching a cobweb in the corner sway, though there was no breeze. The footsteps continued, back and forth, like someone pacing. Then they stopped, and a voice came through the ceiling, muffled but clear. "I can hear you down there. I can always hear everything in this house, every breath, every heartbeat, every secret." Maya's hands tightened on her phone. She should run. Get in her car and drive and never look back. Let Lily deal with this. Let the house and its ghosts consume themselves. But she thought of her sister's face, the exhaustion there, the defeat. Lily had been carrying this alone for months. Their father was dying upstairs, reduced to whispers and silence. And she, Maya, had run away years ago. Left them to deal with the weight of family and history and the dead who refused to stay buried. She stood up, leaving the soup untouched on the table, and climbed the stairs to her old bedroom. The room was exactly as she'd left it 8 years ago, or close enough. The bed was made with the same quilts, faded pink and white. Her old bookshelf still held the books she'd loved as a teenager, mysteries and horror novels, stories of girls who solved crimes or survived haunted houses. On the wall, a mirror reflected her face back at her, and she looked older than she remembered, tired, with shadows under her eyes. She sat on the bed, and the springs creaked. Immediately she froze, listening. But no voice came from above, no footsteps, just the house settling, the wind picking up outside, rain pattering against the windows. Maya lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Water stains, formed patterns in the plaster, shapes that could be anything if you looked long enough. A face, a hand reaching, a mouth open in a scream. She must have fallen asleep, because when she opened her eyes, the room was different. The light had changed, dimmer now, though she couldn't tell if it was later or earlier. The shadows in the corners seemed deeper, more solid, and she wasn't alone. Someone sat in the chair by the window, a small figure, hunched and still. Maya's heart hammered, but she couldn't move, couldn't speak. The figure didn't turn, but she could see its profile against the window. An old woman, thin and bird-like, wearing a high-collared dress that looked like it belonged to another era. "You were always the clever one," the figure said. Its voice was the same one from the attic, but clearer now, stronger. "Lily is good and obedient, but not clever. Your father has no spine, never did. Your mother was weak, but you had potential. If you'd stayed, I could have taught you how to run a household, how to maintain order, how to keep everyone in their proper place." Maya tried to speak, but her voice wouldn't work. The figure finally turned, and Maya saw its face. It was her grandmother, but not as she'd been in life. This version was sharper, more defined, as if death had carved away everything soft and left only the essential severity. Her eyes were black, bottomless, and they fixed on Maya with an intensity that felt physical, like hands pressing it down on her chest. "You can't be real," Maya managed to whisper. "Can't I?" Grandmother smiled, and her teeth were too white, too perfect. "What's real, child? Is it only what you can touch? What you can see in daylight? The world is thin in houses like this, in families like ours. The dead don't always lie down quietly, especially when they have unfinished business. What business could you possibly have? Maintaining order, teaching lessons, making sure this family remembers what it means to be proper, to be respectful, to be quiet and good and obedient as children should be." She stood, and she seemed taller than Maya remembered, looming. "Your mother understood, eventually. She learned. It took years, but she learned. And when she died quietly, properly, without fuss or complaint. That's all I ever asked." "You broke her," Maya said, and her voice was stronger now, anger burning through the fear. "You broke all of them. I made them better. I made them civilized. Do you know what this family was before I came? Loud, chaotic, improper. Your grandfather drank. Did you know that? Your father nearly failed out of school. Your mother was a shameful girl who trapped him with pregnancy. But I fixed them. I brought order. I brought peace. You brought silence. There's a difference." Grandmother's smile vanished. "Ungrateful child. After everything I sacrificed. I stayed in this house when I could have had my own life. I raised children that weren't mine. I maintained standards when everyone else wanted to live like animals. And this is the thanks I receive? Judgment? Disrespect? You're dead. You should be gone. I'll be gone when my work is finished. When this family learns their final lessons. When they understand that certain things are permanent, eternal, unchangeable." She moved closer to the bed, and the temperature in the room dropped. Maya could see her breath misting in the air. "You think you escaped. You think the city made you free, but you carry me with you, in the way you apologize too much, in the way you make yourself small in meetings, afraid to speak too loud, in the way you can't accept love because you're sure you don't deserve it. I'm in your bones, child, in your blood. You can run to the edge of the world, but I'll still be there." Maya wanted to argue, to deny it, but the words stuck in her throat because she knew it was true. How many times had she silenced herself? How many opinions had she swallowed? How many times had she made herself convenient, agreeable, quiet, because being loud meant being bad? "I won't let you do this," Maya said. "Not anymore. Not to Lily. Not to Dad. Not to anyone." Grandmother laughed, and it was a sound like wind through a broken window, thin and cold. "What will you do? Call a priest? Burn sage? Say magic words?" She leaned close, and Maya could smell her, old perfume and mothballs, and something underneath, something wrong. "I don't need a body to exist, child. I don't need breath or blood or a beating heart. I am the rules you learned, the fear you carry, the voice in your head that says, too much, too loud, too alive. You can't exorcise me because I'm not a demon. I'm family, and family is forever." She reached out, and her hand passed through Maya's, cold as winter water. Then she was gone, and Maya was alone in the room, gasping, her whole body shaking. She sat up and turned on the lamp. The room looked normal now, empty. But the chair where Grandmother had sat was different. It had been facing the wall. Now it pointed toward the bed, as if whoever sat there had turned to watch her sleep. Maya got up and left the room, not bothering to be quiet anymore. She went to Lily's door and knocked. "Lily, let me in." The door opened. Lily stood there in her nightgown, eyes red-rimmed. "Did you see her?" "Yes." "Did she talk to you?" "Yes." Lily nodded as if this confirmed something. "She visits each of us, every night. She says things, true things, and terrible things. And we can't argue because she's always right somehow. She knows every failure, every fear, every secret shame, And then she reminds us that we can't leave, we can't escape, we can't be free, because we're family, and family is forever, Maya finished. She said that to me too. They stood in the hallway. Two sisters who'd once been close but had grown apart, separated by miles and choices, and the weight of the past. In the silence, they could hear their father breathing in his room, labored and wet, the sound of a body giving up. "How long does he have?" Maya asked. "Days, maybe. He stops eating. He barely drinks. He's waiting, I think." "For what?" "Permission to die. But she won't give it. She wants him here, wants him to suffer, wants to punish him for some failure only she can see." Lily's voice cracked. "I can't watch him die like this, Maya." Slowly, in silence, in this house. "He deserves better." "Then we give him better." "How?" Maya thought about it. In her old books, the ones still on her shelf, the ghosts were defeated in straightforward ways. Salt and iron, holy water, fire. But grandmother wasn't that kind of ghost. She was something deeper, more personal. She was the accumulated weight of trauma passed down through generations, the learned helplessness, the internalized voice of criticism and control. You couldn't salt that away. You couldn't burn it. You had to break the cycle. You had to refuse the inheritance. "We stopped being quiet," Maya said. "That's what she wants. What she's always wanted. Our silence, our smallness, our fear. So we stopped giving it to her. But if we're loud, if we make noise, she gets angry, she gets loud too. And maybe, if we're loud enough, someone will finally hear. Someone will come. Someone will break the seal on this house and let in the light." Lily looked terrified. "I don't know if I can." "You can. We'll do it together." Maya took her sister's hand. "Tomorrow, at dawn, we'll say goodbye to Dad, and we'll do it properly, loudly. We'll tell him we love him, we'll thank him for what he tried to be, and we'll give him permission to go. And if she doesn't like it, if she tries to stop us, then we'll get louder. We'll scream if we have to. We'll break every rule she ever made. And if it doesn't work, then at least we tried. At least we refused to go quietly." Maya squeezed her sister's hand. "I left you alone with this for too long. I'm sorry. But I'm here now, and I'm not leaving until we end it." Lily nodded, tears running down her face. "Okay. Tomorrow. At dawn." They went back to their rooms, and Maya lay awake, listening to the house. The clock chimed midnight. The wind howled, rain lashed the windows, and from above she heard pacing, back and forth, endless and patient. Dawn came slowly, a gray light that barely penetrated the gloom. Maya dressed in jeans and a sweater, solid clothes that felt like armor. She met Lily in the hallway. Her sister had dressed too, in slacks and a blouse, her hair pulled back. She looked younger somehow, less defeated. They went to their father's room together. He lay exactly as he had the day before, barely breathing, his face waxy. They sat on either side of the bed, each taking one of his hands. "Dad," Maya said, her voice soft at first, then stronger. "Dad, we're here. Your daughters. We're both here." His eyes fluttered but didn't open. "We want to tell you something," Lily said, and her voice was clearer than Maya had heard it in years. "We want to tell you that it's okay. You don't have to hold on anymore. You don't have to stay for us. We'll be okay," Maya continued. "We'll take care of each other. We'll take care of ourselves. You don't have to worry. And we want you to know," Lily said, her voice rising slightly, "that we love you. Even though things were hard, even though the house was always so quiet, even though we didn't always know how to talk to each other. We love you." Maya felt her throat tighten. "You did your best, Dad. You tried. And that's enough. That's more than enough. You can go now," Lily said. "You can rest. You can be free," Maya added, and her voice broke on the last word. "You can finally be free." From above came a sound like furniture scraping across the floor, hard and violent. "What are you doing?" The voice came through the ceiling, sharp with anger. "Stop this. Stop talking. Be quiet. Be respectful. He's not ready. He can't go yet. I haven't finished with him." Maya looked at Lily. Her sister's face had gone pale, but there was something new in her eyes. Determination. Defiance. "Ignore her," Maya said, louder now. "She doesn't get to decide." "That's right," Lily said, and she stood up, still holding their father's hand. "We decide. This is our family, our father, our choice. Sit down." The voice was a shriek now, coming from everywhere at once, from the ceiling and walls and the very air. "Be quiet. Show respect. You will be quiet in this house." "No," Maya said, and she stood too, and she raised her voice, really raised it, let it fill the room like she'd never done in this house before. "We won't. Not anymore. We're done being quiet. We're done being small. We're done letting you control us." The lights flickered. The walls groaned. Something crashed in the attic, heavy and violent. "Dad," Lily said, tears streaming down her face, but her voice strong, unwavering. "We love you, and you can go. You have our permission. You have our blessing. Go in peace." Their father's eyes opened. For the first time in months, they were clear, focused. He looked at Maya, then at Lily. His mouth moved, and though no sound came out, they could read his lips. "Thank you." Then his chest rose one final time and fell and didn't rise again. The silence that followed was different from any silence that had existed in this house before. It wasn't the silence of fear or control. It was the silence of ending, of release, of something finally, blessedly finished. "No." The voice from above was smaller now, uncertain. "No, he can't. He's mine. You're all mine. This is my house, my family. You can't." "He's gone," Maya said firmly, "and your hold on him is broken. But not on you. Never on you. You're still here. You're still in my house." Lily walked to the door. "Then we'll leave." "You can't leave. I won't let you. The rules—" "We don't accept your rules," Maya said. "We never did. We just didn't know we had a choice. But we do. We always did." They left their father's room together, leaving his body peaceful on the bed, and walked down the hallway to the attic door. Lily opened it without hesitation this time, and they climbed the stairs together. The attic was different. The bed was empty, sheets tangled and torn. The water glass lay shattered on the floor. The crucifix had fallen from the wall. And in the center of the room stood grandmother, but she was fading, translucent, her edges blurring like smoke. "You can't do this," she said, but her voice was thin, desperate. "I gave everything to this family. I sacrificed. I taught you how to be good." "You taught us how to be afraid," Lily said, "how to be small, how to hate ourselves for being alive." "That's not true. I loved you. I wanted you to be better." "You wanted us to be you," Maya said, bitter and controlled and so afraid of joy that we had to strangle it in everyone around us. That's not love. That's not family. That's just pain passing itself down through generations until someone finally says enough. "You'll fail without me. You'll be loud and improper, and the world will punish you for it." "Maybe," Maya said, "but at least we'll be free. You'll regret this. You'll miss me. You'll realize I was right." "Goodbye, grandmother," Lily said softly but clearly. "We release you. We forgive you. And we're done carrying you." The figure in the center of the room flickered like a candle flame. For just a moment, her expression changed. The anger fell away, and beneath it was something else. Fear, loneliness. The face of a woman who'd spent her entire life building walls and then found herself trapped inside them, unable to remember why she'd started building in the first place. "I don't know how to leave," she whispered. "I've been here so long. I don't remember how to be anywhere else." "Let go," Maya said gently. "Just let go." And she did. The figure dissolved into mist, into light, into nothing. The attic was empty except for furniture and dust, and the gray dawn light coming through the small round window. The sister stood there for a long moment, waiting to see if anything would happen, if she would return, if the release would hold. But there was only silence. Real silence. The silence of an empty room. Nothing more, nothing less. "Is it over?" Lily whispered. "I think so." They went back downstairs. They called the funeral home. They made the arrangements. When the men came to take their father's body, Maya opened all the windows in the house, letting in the cold October air, the sound of rain, the noise of the world outside. Lily turned on the radio, letting music fill the kitchen, something loud and modern that their mother would have hated, that grandmother would have forbidden. They started going through the house, room by room, sorting what to keep and what to let go. In the attic, they found boxes of their grandmother's things, letters, photographs, journals. Maya started to read one of the journals, but Lily stopped her. "Don't," she said. "We don't need to understand her. We don't need to forgive her. We just need to let her go." They took the boxes outside and burned them in the old metal drum their father used to use for yard waste. They stood in the rain and watched the papers curl and blacken, smoke rising into the gray sky. It felt like the right kind of ending. Not neat or clean, but final. The funeral was small. A few neighbors came, people who remembered their parents from church or the grocery store. Father Morrison came out of retirement to perform the service, his hands shaking as he read the prayers. Maya and Lily spoke, their voices clear and audible, talking about their father not as he'd been at the end, but as they hoped he was now, free, at rest, released from the weight of expectations and fear. After everyone left, they stood by the grave as the rain continued to fall. "What will you do now?" Maya asked. "I don't know. Stay for a while, I think. Sell the house. Figure out who I am when I'm not taking care of someone." Lily looked at her sister. "What about you?" "Go back to the city. But I'll visit. Really visit. Not just a phone call at Christmas. We're all that's left now. We should try to be a family, even if we're still learning how." "I'd like that." They drove back to the house together. Inside, it felt different, lighter somehow, as if removing grandmother's presence had literally made the air easier to breathe. Maya spent another week there, helping Lily sort through decades of accumulated possessions, deciding what held meaning and what was just weight. In her mother's sewing room, she found a box of unfinished projects, dresses half-made, quilts with only a few squares completed, a child's coat with one sleeve attached. Her mother had started so many things but never finished them. Maya wondered if she'd simply run out of time or if the constant criticism had worn away her confidence until she couldn't complete anything without second-guessing every stitch. "We should finish one of these," Maya said, holding up a quilt pattern, colorful squares, and a cheerful design that seemed at odds with everything else in the house. "I don't know how to sew." "Neither do I. But we could learn, together." They didn't finish the quilt that week, or even that month, but Maya took it back to the city with her, and sometimes, late at night when the streets below were quiet, she'd take it out and add a few stitches, thinking of her mother, thinking of Lily, thinking of all the women in her family who'd been taught to be small and quiet and good. She thought about grandmother too sometimes, not with anger anymore, but with something closer to pity. How exhausting it must have been, maintaining that much control, living in that much fear, dying without ever letting go. I mean, what a terrible inheritance to pass down. What a sad way to be remembered. Maya made changes in her own life. She spoke up in meetings. She stopped apologizing for taking up space. She called Lily every Sunday, and they talked, really talked, learning how to be sisters again, how to have a relationship not built on shared trauma, but on actual choice, actual affection. The house in Hollow Creek sold within 3 months. A young family bought it, people with small children whose laughter could be heard from the street. Maya drove out for the closing, and as she signed the papers, she felt something release in her chest, a tightness she'd carried so long She'd forgotten it was there. "Good luck," she told the new owners. "I hope you're happy here." "Oh, we will be," the mother said, bouncing a baby on her hip. "We're going to repaint everything. Open up the walls, let in lots of light. Make it feel like home." Maya smiled. "That sounds perfect." She drove away and didn't look back. In her rearview mirror, the house grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared around a bend in the road, and she felt nothing but relief. Lily moved to a small apartment in town, got a job at the local library, started going to therapy. She called Maya one night, actually laughing out loud, and told her about a date she'd been on, how nervous she'd been, how she talked too much and too loud, and the man had smiled and said he liked how alive she seemed. "I feel like I'm learning to be a person," Lily said, "like I'm being born at 31. Is that weird?" "No," Maya said. "I think we're all learning. Better late than never." "Better late than never," Lily agreed. Years passed. Maya got a promotion. Lily got engaged. They met for holidays, not in Hollow Creek, but in neutral places, restaurants or Maya's apartment, or occasionally a weekend trip somewhere neither of them had been. They talked about their parents sometimes, remembering the good parts, acknowledging the hard parts, trying to understand the people they'd been beneath the weight of fear and control. They never talked about grandmother. That chapter was closed. But sometimes, late at night, Maya would wake from a dream she couldn't quite remember, her heart racing, the taste of old perfume in her mouth. She'd get up and turn on all the lights in her apartment, make tea, sit by the window watching the city move below, reminding herself that she was here, she was alive, she was free. And sometimes she'd hear it, just barely, like a whisper carried on the wind. "You'll never really be free. I'm in your blood, in your bones, in every fear you can't quite name." But Maya had learned something important in that house, in those terrible days. The voice of trauma might never completely disappear. The patterns of fear might always be there, waiting to activate when she was tired or scared or vulnerable. But she didn't have to obey them. She didn't have to let them control her. She could acknowledge them and then choose differently. So she'd finish her tea, turn off the lights, go back to bed. And if the dreams came again, if the whispers returned, she'd wake up and remind herself, "I am not my grandmother. I am not my mother. I am not my fear. I am learning every day how to be free." The old house on Sycamore Lane is yellow now with bright blue shutters, and on summer evenings you can hear children playing in the yard, their voices high and clear and wonderfully, beautifully loud, and sometimes, just sometimes, if you stand very still at dusk when the light is failing and the shadows grow long, you might see an old woman watching from the attic window. But when you blink, she's gone, if she was ever there at all. And the only sound is laughter rising up through the floorboards like a prayer, like a cleansing, like the exorcism of silence itself.